Now, households will be facing higher energy bills this winter, with Ofgem, the energy regulator, raising its price cap by around 10%. For an average household paying by direct debit for dual fuel, this equates to £1,717 per year, adding around £12 a month to a bill. Well, joining me now is the Chief Executive of Ofgem, Jonathan Brearley. Very good morning to you. Thanks for coming in. So you've announced this rise in the energy price cap of around 10%.
Yes.
What's the reason for that? Why are prices going up?
Well, look, can I start by saying, look, I talk to energy customers all the time, and I know many households will find this very difficult news this winter. I know people have struggled over the last few years, and the last thing they want to hear is prices going up again. But the reason this is happening is the international gas price, so the gas that we buy to heat our homes and to make sure we have the electricity that we need, has gone up, and that's feeding through to our bills. Now, if you're a customer and you're worried about your energy bills, there are things that you can do. So first of all, please do make sure you get all the access you can to the state benefits you're entitled to. The government said last week there are 880,000 pensioners who could access pension credit, which will not only help them with their cost of living, but also unlock further support for their energy bills. Second, talk to your energy company. We have strict rules in place that say they should be treating you fairly and they should be helping you with your bills. So, for example, making sure you have some flexibility over how you pay and over what time you pay. And finally, do have a look in the market. So for the first time in a long time, we are seeing some good value deals emerge. It might not be right for you. That means fixing your price, for example, but have a look and see if there is a better deal that you can get. But ultimately, while we're dependent on gas, we will be in this situation where prices go up and down.
And will they go up again this winter, or do you think they've peaked?
We simply don't know. So I've always said it's a fool who predicts the gas price, because nobody knows what's going to happen. But what we can do is make sure that we look after those who are most struggling to pay their bills. So in my mind, there's two things for us, for the regulator, for government and for the industry. First, let's build a different energy system, one where we grow our own energy domestically through renewable energy. That will lead us to a more stable pricing situation, but that is going to take some time. So we really support the government's target to get to net zero by 2030, because that gets us to a better place. But that's going to take time. So therefore, we need to look after the most vulnerable. So I'm saying to companies, if someone calls you and they are struggling with their bill, treat them well, treat them with empathy, and make sure they get access to what they need.
So you agree with the government that their plans for Great British Energy, which they talk about building a big clean superpower, you agree that that will bring energy prices down. How soon might that happen, do you think?
We'll certainly get to a more stable place. We'll certainly get to a place where we don't see this merry-go-round on gas prices. But that will take a number of years, so that's not going to happen immediately. We've got to build a huge amount of infrastructure across the country. For example, only a couple of weeks ago, we approved a line from Scotland down to England that is going to be powering all of that offshore wind in Scotland down to where the demand is in England. But that's going to take a number of years to build, and it's not going to be uncontroversial. In the meantime, there are going to be a group of people who are going to struggle with announcements like today. We need to help them and do everything we can.
You mentioned the people who haven't come forward to claim pensioners' credit, which would give them access to support from the government.
Yes.
What do you make of the government's decision to scrap winter fuel payments for everybody? That will affect millions of pensioners.
Well, look, I don't have to make the fiscal decisions that the Chancellor has to make, and ultimately those decisions are hers. What we want to do is to make sure that everyone gets the support they're entitled to. And it is incredible. You know, 880,000 people could be a lot better off if they claim pension credit. That's a huge number. We also know there are schemes like Warm Home Discount, where you can get £150 off your bill. We want to make sure everybody who's entitled to that gets hold of it. We know things are going to be tough for families this winter. We know families are going to struggle, but let's make sure they get what's in the system already.
Do you have some concerns, though, for those pensioners?
We have concerns for all fuel-poor customers, actually. So, you know, I was talking to a family just this week who was saying they struggled massively through the crisis. She said to me, look, she knows we're not where we were 2 years ago, where bills are at £2,500 and incredibly hard to pay. But, of course, she's going to be thinking now, well, that's 10% on my bill, that's £100 or possibly £200 more I'm going to have to find. That's got to come from somewhere else. So all of us, not just the government, Ofgem and the sector, need to think about what we can do to support them.
Would you like to see more of a structured programme to make sure that people are more energy efficient in their homes, to try and improve insulation, to perhaps convert to a more energy efficient form of heating?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the more we can make a home energy efficient, the more we can reduce the amount of energy we need, the more we're insulated against price rises like this and the less we pay overall for our bills. So I think there's a lot we can do, but we need to make sure we don't treat this just as a problem for this winter. This is a sustained problem for a number of years, and let's find those people that we know are struggling, and help them.
And standing charges, which everyone has to pay to connect themselves up.
Yes.
A lot of campaigners worry that they unfairly penalise low-income families and households. You're conducting a review. Can you give us an idea of how that's progressing and what you've learned?
Well, look, we have been told loud and clear people don't like standing charges the way they are now. And what we're doing today is setting out a series of choices about how we might reform them. But as a regulator, there are no easy options. We can't make those charges disappear. We can simply move them from that fixed charge to the amount you pay per unit on your energy bill. Now, the problem we have, and we lay this out in the papers we published today, is there are some very poor families with massive energy needs, and we're concerned about them.
I'm sorry to rush you. We're
Sure.
completely out of time. We're about to go off air. But Jonathan Brearley, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.